Hello, it's Saturday, December 5th, 2020. Welcome to YouTube video number 112 in this series exposing the Jesuit Vatican shadow empire as the true cause of all revolutions, genocide, and war for the last 500 years, and the one and only candidate for the fourth beast system described in the prophetic books of Daniel and Revelation. This video is a warning to all about Creation Ministries International, or CMI. For years, I have occasionally used this site because it focused on refuting evolution and appeared to be a strong Christian ministry dealing with real science. I began to have my suspicions about this site since I wrote and queried them a few years ago as to why they supported the Luciferian, Roman Catholic, NASA paradigm of deep space, the helio-centric solar system, and spinning globe Earth, when the Bible clearly states that the Earth does not move and the sun, moon, and stars do. The response from Jonathan Sarfati was condescending and troubling, and an eye-opener, because I was willing to concede their ignorance on this one very important issue. This situation, however, has changed. As of December 3rd this year, CMI has updated an original article called CMI, Vaccines and Vaccination, posted originally on September the 3rd, 2018, which I missed 2 years ago. There was no fake COVID-19 pandemic raging at that time, and so the vaccine issue wasn't big on my radar. This republication and update of the article, however, changes things. The timing is strategically ominous, and I have no doubt it is intended to sway Christians who are classed in the population group as vaccine hesitant. That's the terminology, people. That's what the media is calling anti-vaxxers, or those who refuse to vaccinate. They're calling those people vaccine hesitant. Look at the Masonic dates chosen for release of both these articles, for starters. Coincidence or intentional? You'll have to decide. According to CMI, vaccines are science, so they have a responsibility to support the vaccine regime and encourage Christians to vaccinate. Apparently, God needs help from us in keeping us healthy and even alive. The arrogance is appalling, and might I say smacks of Jesuitical thinking. In their article, vaccines are presented as a fairly recent development and a godsend to humanity. Edward Jenner, a high-level Freemason, is claimed as being the inventor of vaccination, which is a lie. Actually, pagan cultures have been practicing different forms of bodily transformation in the form of vaccinations for millennia. There's a written document of Chinese vaccine practice going back to 200 BC, but these practices go back to the Tower of Babel and even pre-flood to Cain's empire of sin. This article is pernicious on the basis of what is omitted and the deliberate embellishment of selected statistics and facts. When websites with big readerships start to become vocal about populations getting vaccinated right on the cusp of the mark of the beast mRNA biometric implant vaccine rollout, then you know who controls that platform: the Jesuits of Rome. This is how the Jesuits work. They will use big ministries that look legitimate after having groomed trust in the audience for years and even decades, only to flip it at some point and lead the audience into deception. This is happening all over the internet. Don't be fooled, people. CMI is not a trustworthy Christian ministry, as it is now mixing truth with lies. I want to stress 4 points here, as I have done in the last 42 videos, that render this CMI article null and void of scientific merit. Number 1, viruses are not living entities, but are cleaning solvents, exosomes, made by the body to detoxify it. If viruses are not alive and not harmful, then all the claims being made by World Health authorities are lies. And vaccines are not only unnecessary, but they are a monstrous deception. Number 2, if viruses are beneficial and are not found outside the human body, then the COVID-19 pandemic isn't real, but a massive worldwide hoax substituting the annual death count from a common flu as the numbers for a fake killer virus. Number 3, if viruses are beneficial to humans and can't be transmitted in any way, then the current world health emergency is not about health, but about control and enslavement with a vaccine implant designed to corrupt the human DNA in every living soul. Number 4, if this is all true, and it is, then CMI is perpetrating a lie and deception of epic proportions with its false science claims and is in league with the Roman Catholic beast World Health System. This is all in accordance with God's warning in Revelation 13 that the beast causes all to receive his mark in the right hand or in the forehead, and that whoever takes the mark of the beast shall be damned eternally. None of the claims in this article, no matter how scientific the information is made to seem, or presented, or made to sound, none of these facts are to be taken seriously, people. I want to start off this video by reading this statement by Robert Carter on this re-released CMI post. This is what he says. Excuse me. I quote, "As an organization, Creation Ministries International affirms science. We exist to support the church in proclaiming the truth of the Bible and thus its gospel message, mainly by providing real-world answers to the most asked questions in the vital area of creation evolution. We are also apolitical and non-denominational as an organization, not as individuals. We try to confine ourselves to matters as defined broadly by our statement of faith, and try not to get involved in needless controversies both within and outside Christendom, no matter how we as individuals might feel about them. Thus, it might be a surprise to some that we argue against conspiracy theory." Well, number 1, there's a warning right there. And he goes on to say that we are generally in favor of vaccination. Warning number 2, red flag number 2. And he goes on to say, and that we have a detailed statement that weighs the strengths and weaknesses of the theory of anthropogenic global warming. But that's also a little bit iffy. He goes on to say, each of these areas overlaps our mandate, even though we would not consider them essential. However, we definitely get into areas that are not specifically about creation and evolution when they deal with life and death, such as abortion. Thus, if we can help people understand science and at the same time steer them away from ideas that could be hurtful or even deadly, we feel this is a good use of our time. As Christians, we have a strong desire to help people. As a science advocacy organization, we feel that we should be using our platform to do just that when the occasion arises. Since we have taken a clear public stand against evolution, we are clearly willing to go against the tide no matter how strong its pull. People trust us to present the best information and the best arguments for creation, so we ask that you trust us to do the same here. Since CMI is a pro-life organization, vaccination is one of the tangential issues we deal with. For a long time, we had no official position on our website, but in recent years we have found ourselves answering more and more questions about them. This has forced us to search for answers to those questions, which then precipitated the publication of a position statement, linked above. Please understand that this only came after much deliberation. Unquote. Now, you'll notice how many times they say we are pro-science, science advocacy. In other words, they are claiming that what they are teaching is pro-science. Now, they may be doing this with evolution, but when they step over into anthropogenic global warming and vaccination, and they support the heliocentric cosmology of the Roman Catholic Church, then they have stepped over the line, people. They are no longer presenting the whole truth of the Bible as they claim they are. It's a lie. It's a deception. No matter what they believe, whether done out of ignorance or deliberately, it's a lie and it's a deception. They say, CMI, they say, people trust us to present the best information, so we ask that you trust us to do the same here. I say, why would you trust a platform that purports to be Bible-based, yet seeks to defend the claims of false science over and above the commands of God? God says, do not take the mark. And the mRNA vaccine is the mark of the beast. There is no other mark that contains the digital point of sale or POS platform in the body, enabling a person to buy and sell simply with a scan. There is nothing else. There is no other way to do this, people. It is a biometric vaccine that contains nanochips. And this is how people will buy and sell from a mark in their body, whether in the forehead or in the right hand. They say, if we can help people understand science. I say, CMI is not promoting science, but pseudoscience when they promote vaccines. Vaccines are not science, people. It's got nothing to do with science. Contrary to all claims by the science and medical establishment, which is controlled by the Vatican, vaccines have not and do not improve human health and extend life, but on the contrary, poison generations of people, thus creating a booming market of sick people suffering from a wide range of implanted conditions from birth, thus needing lifelong health care from Vatican hospitals and clinics. They say, we have a strong desire to help people. I say, this is a lie because promoting vaccines promotes sickness and disease, whether in the short or long term. How is this helping people? This claim is nothing short of nefarious. They say, when the occasion arises, we should be using our platform for science advocacy. I say, vaccines are not science, so CMI are misusing their platform for the purposes of Vatican medical propaganda. It's Roman propaganda. CMI should be exposing vaccines as anti-science, just as they do with evolution. They should also be exposing the Vatican's false heliocentric deep space NASA cosmology as anti-science, but they fail with this also. This indicates that they are promoting a selective Roman Catholic agenda aimed at deceiving people on serious current issues while appearing legitimate on other issues that are important but do not carry the serious weight of implications that vaccines and vaccinations do. This is the only serious issue of our day, vaccination, because it does carry the mark of the beast and will damn anyone who involves themselves in the vaccination program for all eternity. It's the only serious issue of today. There is nothing else, people. If you're distracted by politics, social issues, cultural issues, then you're not looking at the only one serious issue of this last time that we live in, which is the mark of the beast. It is the only thing that matters at this moment. They say CMI is a pro-life organization and vaccination is one of the tangential issues we deal with. I say vaccination is not a tangential issue, but an issue of such central focus that it carries grave temporal and spiritual ramifications for every living soul. The issue is so grave as to cause the destruction of health and damn the soul for all eternity. No issue can get more serious than this. They say they were forced to search for answers in order to answer an increasing number of questions about vaccines. I say, if this article is the best they can do to answer questions with the truth about vaccines, then CMI doesn't deserve the trust of anyone. This article is biased completely toward vaccine culture and presents data that gives one angle only, and at the same time makes the claim that in an imperfect world, we have an obligation to preserve and save life using vaccines because God doesn't always heal. This is completely untrue. God will heal anyone who meets the biblical conditions of faith and comes before him and seeks him with all their heart, soul, mind, and strength. God is the healer, and he will heal anyone. And if anyone has not been healed, then they have not met the biblical conditions, because God is not a liar. And I will testify to this because I have been healed of many serious conditions and should have died a long time ago, but I am still here. God is faithful. So this claim, God doesn't always heal, is a lie. It's not biblical. CMI claim in their article, note that the influenza virus kills tens of thousands of people in the U.S. alone every year, and statistics show that most of these victims are unvaccinated. It is not just a bad cold, even though sometimes a bad cold is misnamed the flu. This is blatantly untrue. What is termed influenza is not caused by a virus, but is the effect of the body being cleansed of toxins by a virus or a series of viruses. Not being vaccinated has nothing to do with why these people died. Statistics reveal that of the 600,000 to 700,000 people who die worldwide of influenza or flu each year, annually, the vast majority are very elderly, have multiple pre-existing conditions, and are often severely immunocompromised already. In other words, they are on their last legs. They are already dying, and the flu usually causes lung congestion with conditions like pneumonia, which then kills them. Nothing to do with killer viruses and life-saving vaccines. CMI claim in their article, indeed, the Bible also teaches, especially by the example of Christ, that ameliorating the effects of the curse is a blessing. He healed many diseases and disabilities that we would endorse praying for healing at all times. Any medical advance backed by rigorous scientific testing that can prevent or cure infectious diseases, though, is thus following the example of Christ. Well, this is a blatant distortion of the Bible message. Jesus was healing supernaturally. Vaccines are not healing supernaturally. Vaccines are not even natural. So this is a blatant attempt to tack on healing, any kind of medical solution, as being a part of Christ's ministry. What rot! What absolute nonsense! Divine healing and toxic vaccine injections have absolutely nothing to do with each other. God stands aloof from man's attempts to intervene with pagan alchemical processes into the physical and spiritual health of human beings. And it is alchemy. God doesn't condone or command fallen men to go and attempt to rectify the fallen state of man and all his diseases by manipulating God's genetic code and injecting people with a synthetic form of his code. Viruses are not infectious, and vaccines are not rigorously tested as claimed. They are not. And we can see this in this last 9 months with this fake vaccine race that they have suddenly come up with an mRNA implant vaccine in 9 months. This is a blatant lie. This mRNA vaccines were developed decades ago. And it's documented. And in the next video, God willing, I will show that this is the case. In fact, the effects on the claimed tens of thousands of test subjects are never released publicly. Mass injections of patented synthetic mRNA in order to cure a fictitious killer virus is not just deception at the highest level, but wickedness of the highest order. Now today I saw a video, and very cunningly the media is releasing a testimony of one person who volunteered for the vaccine trials. But we have no way of knowing who this person is, whether in fact they were ever vaccinated with an mRNA vaccine. And this is one out of tens of thousands. Where are all the people who were actually trialed with mRNA vaccines? Are they alive? Are they dead? Were they silenced in order not to give a negative testimony against vaccines? We do not know. Do not believe the media, people. They are complicit in every way with the Jesuits in pushing people toward vaccine compliance. It is not in their interest for anyone to reject this vaccine. They want everyone vaccinated. Do not believe the false media stories. CMI claim in their article, as explained later, God's sovereignty means that even natural, which God made anyway, or man-made medicines within the boundaries of the Genesis 1:28 dominion mandate are also his means of healing. As CMI has often explained, what we call natural laws are really our descriptions of God's normal, regular, repeatable ways of upholding his creation. This claim is once again a twisting of biblical truth. Natural or God-made medicines from nature were put there by God in order to provide remedies for various kinds of sickness. This does not extend to man-made or synthetic allopathic medicinal compounds, mostly concocted from mineral oils. Many of these drugs, rather than heal a patient, simply extend the duration of the illness and add further symptoms and complications caused by the drugs themselves, for which more drugs are then required. It is an allopathic vicious circle that benefits the Jesuits, medical, and pharmaceutical corporations at the expense of human health. And might I say, there is a lot of human suffering that goes along with this. Drugs of a synthetic nature concocted by man are not biblically mandated and are to be viewed with caution and suspicion. Billions of people today are addicted to and dependent on synthetic remedies, both legal and illegal, and the death toll each year is high. It's never, ever advertised in the media. All vaccines are toxic. All allopathic medicines are toxic. One only has to read the list of contents of any vaccine to understand that there is a chemical cocktail going into the body, and no one knows the decades-long effect of these toxins in the body. I myself am still recovering from a cluster of vaccines that I foolishly took in ignorance 18 years ago. My health went downhill almost immediately and has never been the same. I cannot stress the message more. Do not take any vaccines, and in particular the COVID-19 synthetic mRNA biometric implant vaccines that are now rolling out worldwide. Say no, whatever the consequences may be to yourself. It is far better to die obeying God than to live for a short time obeying Satan. And that is what you are doing if you submit to taking the COVID-19 synthetic mRNA vaccine. Might I also add here that these synthetic mRNA vaccines are patented. So the DNA that is going into your body is patented. And you will become the possession of the patent holder. Make no mistake about this. If you are carrying a patented device or material or substance in your body, you then become controllable by the patent holder. And this is exactly what is going to happen. CMI claim in their article, God has given us an immune system. This would have had a pre-fall role in differentiating self and non-self, but in this fallen world, it also fights against invading microbes. However, because we are fallen creatures, this system doesn't work perfectly, as shown by the millions of deaths from infectious diseases throughout history. And here they quote, the 1918 Spanish flu epidemic is thought to have killed up to 100 million people, or 3% of the world's population at the time, including great numbers of Christians. This claim, once again, is not correct. However the pre-fall world looked and operated, microbes were present there also. Microbes are not a result of the fall. This is implied and blatantly untrue. The immune system works just fine when people live in a godly fashion and have access to clean water, food, water, and a hygienic living environment. Change any of those things and problems begin to surface. True knowledge about natural living and natural medicines appeared and disappeared again and again over the centuries, suppressed by Luciferian pagan regimes. This has been the cause of most of man's sicknesses. The knowledge of how to heal was lost or suppressed by pagan priesthoods. Luciferian pagan priesthoods controlled medicine, contravening God's laws on health and sanitation. This is why people suffered plagues and illnesses over the centuries. The knowledge of how to heal and be healed from God's word was suppressed or destroyed or kept from the people. The falsely named Spanish flu was not caused by an infectious disease. It was caused by a mass vaccination program conducted worldwide by the predecessor to the World Health Organization at that time, which administered two vaccines called the double blow, which then killed all who received it in short order. Those who were not vaccinated were not affected in any way. Up to 100 million people who were vaccinated died. Almost a 100% kill rate. This was the first mass vaccine experiment conducted by the Vatican-run World Health Agency of the time, and I cover this in a previous video. The claim that this false pandemic was caused by a virus is a blatant lie and deception of the worst kind, because this is being used to generate fear and compliance to vaccinate during this false pandemic, which incidentally comes exactly 100 years on the 100-year anniversary of the Spanish flu. Coincidence? I don't think so. This particular claim in this article immediately invalidates the scientific veracity and substandard research of this CMI article. Falsehood upon falsehood. Edward Jenner and Louis Pasteur, two Luciferian science heroes, are rolled out in this article as proof that science has been helping mankind progress. Really? The New York Times published an article May 16, 1995, claiming Louis Pasteur, and I quote, Louis Pasteur, one of the legendary figures in the history of science, lied about his research, stole ideas from a competitor, and was deceitful in ways that would now be regarded as scientific misconduct, if not fraud, according to a revisionist history published this month. Unquote. Pasteur was a Roman Catholic and also a member of the Royal Society, and that means he was a Freemason. He was a Luciferian. Edward Jenner was an active Freemason, serving in 1812 as Master of the Royal Lodge of Faith and Friendship, number 270, based in Berkeley, Gloucestershire, in the UK, and was a member of the Royal Society also. And that means also he was a Luciferian and working in a nefarious way to provide a means by which the Luciferian agenda could gain world control over human beings. I want to repeat here a small quote from my video number 108, and I quote, Edward Jenner, who lived between 1796 and 1839, discovered that cowpox vaccine would supposedly inoculate persons against the 18th century scourge of smallpox. In fact, smallpox was already on the wane, and some authorities believe it would have vanished by the end of the century due to a number of contributing factors. After the use of the cowpox vaccine became widespread in England, a smallpox epidemic broke out which killed 22,081 people. The smallpox epidemics became worse each year that the vaccine was used. In other words, the vaccine being used was killing people, not helping them. In 1872, 44,480 people were killed by it. England finally banned the vaccine in 1948, despite the fact that it was one of the most widely heralded contributions which that country had made to modern medicine. Unquote. Here's a quote by Dr. Vernon Coleman, MB, and I quote, one of the medical profession's greatest boasts is that it eradicated smallpox through the use of the smallpox vaccine. I myself believed this claim for many years, but it simply isn't true. One of the worst smallpox epidemics of all time took place in England between 1870 and 1872, nearly 2 decades after compulsory vaccination was introduced. How's that possible? After this evidence that smallpox vaccination didn't work, the people of Leicester in the English Midlands refused to have the vaccine anymore. When the next smallpox epidemic struck in the early 1890s, the people of Leicester relied upon good sanitation and a system of quarantine. There was only 1 death from smallpox in Leicester during that epidemic. 1. In contrast, the citizens of other towns who had been vaccinated died in vast numbers. Doctors and drug companies may not like it, but the truth is that surveillance, quarantine, and better living conditions got rid of smallpox, not the smallpox vaccine. It is worth pointing out that Edward Jenner, widely feted as the inventor of the smallpox vaccine, tried out the first smallpox vaccination on his own 10-month-old son. His son remained mentally retarded until his death at the age of 21. I wonder why. Jenner refused to have his second child vaccinated. Unquote. Well, if you do not understand what is happening here in this quotation and what is happening with Jenner and why he refused to have his second child vaccinated, then you've got a problem, because that is as clear as day. Here's another quote from Alfred Russel Wallace, author of Vaccination, a Delusion, published in 1898. And I quote, whether we examine the long-continued records of London mortality or those of modern registration for England, Scotland, and Ireland, whether we consider the control experiment or crucial test afforded by unvaccinated Leicester, or the still more rigid test in the other direction of the absolutely revaccinated Army and Navy, the conclusion is in every case the same, that vaccination is a gigantic delusion. This is written in 1898. Vaccination is a gigantic delusion. Excuse me. So many deaths, such a vast amount of utterly needless and altogether undeserved suffering, and it will be classed by the coming generation among the greatest errors of an ignorant and prejudiced age, and its penal enforcement the foulest blot on the generally beneficent course of legislation during our century." Unquote. CMI states, "So vaccination has saved millions of lives and prevented severe injuries in millions more." No, it hasn't. This is a terrible lie and satanic inversion of the truth. Vaccines have killed and maimed untold millions, but few people know because this information and statistics are never reported in the mainstream media news. And it is kept out of public historical science publications. Revisionist publications have deleted these truths. The truth of the dangers of vaccines is being withheld from the public, so they are kept ignorant and compliant to world government health authorities. Finally, the CMI article works hard to portray anti-vaccine lobbyists as manipulating data in order to paint vaccines in a bad light, when in fact this is exactly what CMI does by omitting essential historical information on vaccines and early attempts to introduce them. The article logic that vaccines aren't 100% safe, but then nothing we do is even more disturbing. Natural immunity is portrayed as insufficient, as prevention should always be the aim. What is downplayed is the understanding that illness is a part of life and that upon recovery from most communicable type diseases, the body is stronger and the immune system more robust. What is most disturbing about this vaccine propaganda piece is that it is promoting an unnecessary medical practice of physical intervention that now incorporates synthetic mRNA implants as a form of new vaccine for the prevention of a non-existent virus threat. As I have stated in previous videos, the Vatican World Health Organization has been training populations for 100 years or more that it is possible to catch a virus. This is unscientific and a total myth. Since 2002, the WHO has been ramping up the frequency of deadly virus events worldwide. There have been 6 fake virus events perpetrated by the Vatican world media with the express purpose of increasing the legitimacy of viruses as a world threat and the fear level of whole population groups. Absolutely diabolical what they've been doing. CMI are now actively seeking to use their platform to influence their Christian readership to accept vaccines as normal. In particular, they are attempting to soften the levels of vaccine hesitancy in this group so that they will be more compliant to taking the COVID-19 Roman Catholic Mark of the Beast mRNA vaccine that is rolling out now when told to do so. CMI is just one more example of websites and social media channels flipping and cooperating with Rome in this last hour of world history in its Agenda 21 marking and chipping program, rather than resisting the commands of the Beast Medical Inquisition, as the Bible commands all Christians to do. We are now facing the impending rollout of the Mark of the Beast 3-in-1 biometric implant microneedle patch vaccine platform, which will corrupt and destroy all who submit to it. This is the endgame move of the Jesuits. A vaccine initiation of all people into the culture of the satanic beast New World Order kingdom. I'm warning everyone here that the effects of this DNA mRNA vaccine implant are irreversible. Anyone who takes it is spiritually damned for eternity. Do not take any vaccines going forward. Do not be fooled by needle and vial image propaganda. It's everywhere. The vaccine will be administered by microneedle patch technology. People are not being told or shown in the MSM. Remember, the whole world is being deceived, so the Jesuits are not going to tell you the truth. All vaccines are dangerous to human health. Also, the nonsense about the vaccine race, the nonsense about deep cold storage of special vaccines, it's nonsense, people. It's not true. It's not real. It's put there to make everything look more scientific, to lend it more scientific credibility. It's a lie. It's a deception. It's a smokescreen. The news is just in today that the UK will begin vaccinating on December the 9th. It's here. It's happening, people. Canada will begin operations on December the 7th, and Russia apparently has already begun vaccinating its people with its Sputnik vaccine. Sputnik. What mockery of people. What mockery. Sputnik. A Sputnik vaccine. Let me warn you here that no national Roman proxy governor will tolerate anyone who refuses to vaccinate. The Vatican beast who medical inquisition is lying when they say vaccination isn't mandatory and people won't be penalized. The Jesuits want every living soul vaccinated. There will be no exceptions. This is world genocide, people. Get ready for persecution. Anyone who does not vaccinate will be deemed a health threat to all and will be incarcerated and killed for rejecting Satan's vaccine mark. How do I know this? And I quote, in a press conference on Thursday, Dr. David Williams, Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health in Canada, gave some more insights on immunization. Williams stated that although the vaccine will not be mandatory for residents, refusing to take it could come with consequences. He goes on to say, and I quote, what may be mandatory is proof of immunization or vaccination with the proper product in order to have latitude and freedom in order to move around. Unquote. These are not my words. Read between the lines. This is medical fascism. It says comply or we take all your freedoms away. We may incarcerate you. You may be refused all services and you may be killed. That's what you have to read between the lines. They will not say this to you directly. They will not. They want compliance. And so they will deceive you into compliance. This is the voice of the beast. And it is the official stance of the Vatican-controlled WHO. This Dr. David Williams is speaking for the World Medical Authority. So pay attention. What they say, what these people in high positions say, applies across the board, worldwide. He is the voice of the beast. It is the official stance of the Vatican-controlled WHO, or World Health Authority, and will be applied worldwide to everyone. Do not be fooled into thinking you will be exempt. You won't. No living soul will be exempt from what is coming. Mankind has been living between Revelation chapter 13 and verse 7 and verses 16. We've been living in that gap for a long time now, people. And for quite some time now, and verse 7 and 8 is now coming alive in its finality. It reads, and it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them, and power was given over him over all kindreds, all tongues, all nations, and all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. All people. And that is what is happening right now. This medical inquisition is rolling out to all people for the first time in world history. Very soon, verse 16 will play out, which reads, and he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. This is how the vaccine will be applied. You can choose between having it in your right hand or in your forehead. They're not going to stick a needle in your forehead, people. It's a micro needle patch that they're applying this mRNA implant vaccine. Because why? And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name, the mark of the beast. I want to say here that I have done my best to warn everyone here and in all my videos and blogs. I thank you for listening, and I pray that God will continue to open your eyes to this truth as you search for the truth on all things. I'll put pertinent links in the description box below. Please share this information with others as you're able, so that many more might be awakened to the reality of this world system. I hope to see you in the next video, but time is running out, people. Time is very short. The mark of the beast is here and rolling out now as I speak on December the 5th, 2020. So time is running out for all human souls. So if I cannot appear in any more videos, I encourage you to stand firm in your faith for God. Do not be moved. Serve God to the end. Refuse the mark of the beast, and God will reward you and take you home into glory. God bless you. I hope to see you soon.